So we use a medium of light in this installation as a medium that we can build architecture from it. We can design space. The whole installation relies in the use of perspective as it was invented back in the just before Renaissance from Alberti, and it was then actually progressed as a technique from other great figures like DaVinci or Dürer. And it's our take on their work, on how these simple lines actually describe abstractly the space around us. And that's what the work does in a way, it's recreating space.
I first saw their work at Ars Electronica in 2010. It was a pendulum piece, kind of along the lines of the Barbican work, and it won a distinction for the Ars Prize that year. Then last summer I saw some more of their work in London, and it reminded me of their practice, so I went and had a look at their website to see what projects they'd been working on over the past few years. And there was really a wealth of amazing projects on the website, so I wanted to know more.
When we showed the piece in Berlin, it was in an old warehouse. Well, actually, it was a factory for opera pieces, set pieces. It was a beautiful building. So it was nice to capture a bit of the building itself as well. But what it generally does as an installation is create a space in another space.
We had a discussion about how the various different projects could work here in the spaces, and we agreed that Vanishing Point was the right project for Towner because it suited the spaces, but also it hadn't been shown in the UK before, and it was a project that they wanted to repeat again and work on the technology, so it was interesting for them to revisit that project.
What Vanishing Point did, and it was quite nice, the setting there, was to create it creates an environment for you. So people just spend quite long in the space and explore it and play with the light. But I think in general the first reaction is like, wow, it's like you're inside a computer program. At the same time it is real. And it's very architectural at the same time.
So the installation was designed site-specifically for the spaces here. It's a very sophisticated build, and it's working with very sophisticated technology. So when the viewer goes into the work, it's an ever-changing vanishing point. So we hope that they will be drawn in and intrigued and really want to stay in there for quite a long time and absorb the atmosphere.
Vanishing Point at Towner is quite different from what it was. We decided to create a mixed media exhibition instead of just displaying this one piece, because we believe that there are multiple perspectives for what you can see and how you can actually appreciate this technique that we try to create a metaphor about.
Well, what's interesting about this particular piece, Vanishing Point, not so much as a single artwork, but as a body of work, as a sort of a studies series. We've been exploring this idea of programming perspective and using elements, like architectural elements, to recreate, space in the way that Vanishing Point does.
So we decided to create a series of prints, which are stills from forms that the installation of the piece Vanishing Point that creates. And then we have another piece which is a wall-based but screen-based piece, and it has an application which generates an addition to what Vanishing Point did in the past in a way that creates more surfaces, it creates different kind of shapes than what you experience in the 3D version of the installation, really.
I think the application and the prints really complement the installation work. So it's that sense of being immersed in the darkness and then coming out into the light. The prints, I guess, really go back to that sort of handcrafted sense that they're all hand screen prints, they're all unique, and they're a limited edition. So it's a kind of juxtaposition between the very sophisticated digital and handmade set of prints.
The silk screen, the screen prints, they were on a really interesting journey, because in a sense that's programming as well. It's doing the same thing that the algorithm that runs the installation and the projection does, but through screens. So what you do is you recombine all these elements to form space, 3D space, on a canvas. And that push and pulling between something which is completely 2D and something that has depth to it, that's actually what the whole series has been about.
We have a history of working with artists here who use light in their practice. So our first exhibition 5 years ago was the Chilean sculptor Ivan Navarro, who makes sculptural works with fluorescent light tubes. And we've also shown Diana Tater, who's an American film and video artist, who places her film work within rooms that are lit in saturated colour, so they create these immersive environments. And we've also worked with artists that work on the cutting edge of digital technologies, like Kelly Richardson and the artist Geo Igloo. So we've never really shied away from working with artists that include digital in their practice. So working with UVA is another kind of logical step in the way that we program.
The idea of programming light is a big part of what UVA does. It's what interests us. It's where the programmable and the real come together. It is actually this physicality of light that we've been exploring in many different ways. It can either be through an actual light fixture, like an LED, or even like a tungsten light source. But the nice thing about light is that it's ultimately programmable, controllable, and you can use light to create anything that you want to. But it has a physical and a very visceral reaction.